Hello and welcome back to our channel. I'm going to try not to bump the table at all because I have you guys on this really interesting contraption that you can't see. I can. It's consisting of some paper, some kids' artwork, an upside down bowl, this really cool, it's like a wooden dice, a pretty big wooden dice that the idea is that you roll it and it gives you a prayer that you can say out loud before you all eat dinner together. Someday, I hope and I imagine that we will all sit around the table at once and eat dinner at the same time. But what it normally looks like is we serve the kids, they eat for 4 to 5 minutes, and then by the time we get sat down, they're playing. Not sure why I'm telling you that. And then my journal, and then the camera. So if I hit this table too hard, everything's gonna come down. But I can't be bothered to like go get a proper tripod. So this is going to be weeks 18 through 20 of pregnancy update. Twin pregnancy, my second twin pregnancy, my third pregnancy overall. And I jotted down some notes of what started happening weeks 18 to 20. And I'm gonna go by that. There's been changes since then. Some of these are not relevant anymore because I am now 24 weeks. And I missed some time there where I didn't film and I didn't write down anything. I did write a couple things down for weeks 20 to 22. So I think I'll do a weeks 20 to 22 video after this. And then I will do a Q&A, which I asked on Instagram for some questions. And there's some really good questions that have made me think for sure and that I had not even really thought about. So I'm excited to get to those, and those are gonna be probably a part 3 video that will come out sometime in the future. So if any of that is interesting to you, hit the subscribe button, of course. We have a lot of fun content over here. We're a family of 5 currently, and in a few months that's going to change to a family of 7. I would say the major focus of our videos is Brad and I and kind of what we're up to throughout the day, and then our kids come in to the clips when they want to and are part of it as well, and we just live our lives as our family. We always have something going on. I sounded like I was from New Jersey when I said that. We always have something going on. Is that Jersey? Yeah, walk my dog. Always have something going on. I think that's just Brad and I. Like I feel like we get a lot of comments about how we have too much going on, or we always take on something new, or they can't keep up, or like, I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable if that's not the way that you live your life, and that's understandable. But we've always been really, I don't want to say overachievers, but like driven, I guess, and we don't like to have a lot of downtime, I don't think. We don't know what to do with our downtime, and we end up using our downtime to be creative and think of other things that we can do that we find fun. So that's neither here nor there. That is just a side note as to what this channel typically looks like. This is not the kind of videos we normally put out, but when I'm going through something like a pregnancy, then I like to do sit down update videos because they helped me so much. You can hear the pregnancy congestion. That is pure pregnancy. That is not anything else but just swelling in the nasal passage from pregnancy. It's been that way for probably a month. Anyway, let's get started. Weeks 18 to 20. This is when I started to get, and I think it's better now, but the exhaustion. And I remember this vividly with Eloise. I don't really remember it with my first set of twins, with Berend Lyndle, but with Eloise, oh my Lord, that first trimester, there was nothing that would touch the exhaustion. I was so tired, and it wasn't like, Berend Lyndle were a year old, they were sleeping through the night. It wasn't like I was up a lot with them. I was just exhausted. I would go to bed at 8:30 p.m. Once we got them down, I would get in bed and go to sleep, and it didn't help. Like, taking a nap would not help. That's the kind of exhaustion it was. It's not an exhaustion that sleep can fix. I don't know if you can relate to that. Have you had that like in your first trimester where you are just so tired you can barely function? I remember I would lay on the floor while Berend Lyndle were playing, we'd have a little section in my parents' basement. We lived in my parents' basement at the time, and we had this gate and had it sectioned off where there was basically nothing that they could get into, and they would play, and I would lay on the floor and just fall asleep on the floor with them playing right there. I was so tired. That's kind of shown up a little bit in the 18 to 20 week range, and I don't know if it was maybe something unrelated that I was just really tired from, but just maybe a growth spurt in the babies, and it was just taking energy from me to do that. But I was really, really tired, kind of like I was during the first trimester. And how I knew that is that normally I'm going to bed at 11, sometimes midnight, and then we get up at 7:30, and I wasn't able to make it to that late. I was going to bed at like 10 during this time frame. So I was definitely more tired than normal. My sickness got so much better during this time frame. It was like after 18 weeks that I really turned the corner. I'm gonna have to go back and look at when I turned 18 weeks, because I know in my mind the last time I threw up was Christmas Eve. And that was when I was up until like 1 or 2 in the morning throwing up. But I have not thrown up since then. I've had random mornings where I felt sick and just felt kind of queasy, and it's really rare. It's only like maybe 1 or 2 days a week that I've even noticed that. So such a huge relief. Oh my gosh. I don't know how you women that have hyperemesis do that through the entire pregnancy. That is just not only exhausting and awful, I can't imagine what that does to you emotionally and mentally, because even just dealing with that for like the first 1.5 trimesters is awful. The sickness this pregnancy for me was worse by far than either of my first 2 pregnancies. It's like they've consecutively gotten worse and worse and worse. So I was worse with Eloise than I was with the twins, and I was worse this time than I even was with Eloise. Hydronephrosis. That is a fancy term for swelling in the kidney, or extra fluid in the kidney. It's my right kidney. I know the feeling very well because I had this during my first twin pregnancy, and I think I did towards the end with Eloise too. I felt a little bit of hydronephrosis. It's pretty common in pregnancy, actually, because the way that the uterus grows, it dextrorotates, and I may be saying that wrong, but I think it tends to rotate back into the right a little bit as it grows, and that puts pressure on the ureter coming from the right kidney. So the right kidney is always much more susceptible to hydronephrosis than the left kidney during pregnancy, and that's always where I feel it. I remember I posted a reel on Instagram, which are really fun. If you're not on Instagram, it's a really fun platform. It just allows for like really quick, rapid fire content sharing and quick updates, whereas YouTube, you have to sit down, film a video, upload it, or like import it, edit it, upload it. It's just a lot more work for YouTube than it is for Instagram. So we've been a lot more active on Instagram lately. And if you're not on Instagram and you don't want to be, then we'll try to keep all of our updates here as well. But if you're on Instagram and you want to follow us, we're at Brad Rach for our family, and at Rachel Engelbards for me, which is much more like pregnancy content and stuff that deals with me. So I made a reel the other day about something about the baby kicking me in the kidney, and I grabbed my side here, and someone was like, your kidneys are in your back. I know where the kidneys are. The feeling you get when you have hydronephrosis, I don't know if it's referred pain or if it's just like the way that the kidney swells or what, but it feels like it's right here, kind of like under and behind your rib. And I'm not saying right here on the surface, it's in here. I wouldn't say it's back pain necessarily, but that's where I felt it with the twins too, and that was confirmed with ultrasound showing grade 4 hydronephrosis, and that was the area, like when she was pushing with the probe, that was the area that hurt. So I know the feeling of hydronephrosis, and I know where I feel it. So anyway, there's not really anything they do about it unless it gets to the point where I guess they think it may be damaging your kidney, and then they can go in and put in a stent. And they briefly discussed doing that when I was pregnant with the twins the first time, but ultimately they didn't do it because that means they have to go back in later and remove the stent, and there's complications that can happen having the stent in there at all. So anyway, I'm not planning on doing anything about it besides just kind of getting through it. Scheduling issues. Oh my goodness. I wrote this at weeks 18 to 20, and that is still relevant. what was happening? Oh, okay, at like weeks 18 to 20, I thought maybe I was gonna have to change OBs. It was really almost traumatic of an experience because I had an OB that I loved with Eloise. He moved, so I had to find another OB. And I really, really liked her, really liked her, like her. And then it was looking dicey for a while as to whether she was gonna stay at all at our hospital. There was something going on in her family, and she was out for a while. They had to reschedule one of my appointments with another doctor. This other doctor ended up being fine, but doesn't have the best reputation at the hospital. So it was just a little iffy for a while, because I was thinking at 20 weeks pregnant, I'm gonna have to reestablish with a new OB. And I have twins, and we're starting to get into the part where we like see the doctor frequently. So I was really worried that that was gonna happen, and I was gonna have to like reschedule all of my appointments. Turns out that didn't happen. My doctor is staying. I'm still gonna be seeing her, but I still had to reschedule all of my appointments. It was just kind of an unrelated deal. I'll get to that in a future video, but the scheduling issue, and I know that this is kind of the case everywhere and for every specialty, is hard. With COVID, it's just, I don't know what's happening, but every provider seems like they're slammed, they're hard to get into, they're booked out for weeks at a time. Myself and Brad included, like at our clinic, to get into us, we're 2 months out to get an appointment. So it's, I don't know what's going on. I had my anatomy scan. It was really, really awesome, and I had it with a high-risk OB. One good thing that came from like having my appointment rescheduled to another doctor is she was really quick to determine that I needed to be seeing a high-risk OB now, not in the future at some undetermined date. She wanted me to see the high-risk OB for my anatomy scan, which prior to that, it had been scheduled at my normal OB's office. So she went ahead and canceled that, got me in the next day to see the high-risk OB and have my anatomy scan there, and everything was perfect. Both of the babies were perfect. There was nothing that came up on the anatomy scan that was even questionable, which was so awesome. With Berend Lyndle, everything was fine. They didn't quite get all the information they needed, but there was one thing, like Bear's placenta, where his umbilical cord inserted into the placenta was all the way over to the side, and that was one thing that might have caused problems, but it ended up being fine. And then it was my anatomy scan where I found out that Eloise had hydronephrosis that ultimately later required surgery. So to have the anatomy scan be just completely uneventful and perfect was awesome. And the babies were so cute. They're growing, they're big, they're both ahead of schedule. One of them was yawning. Baby A was yawning the whole time. Baby B was guarding her face while baby A tried to kick her in the face. It was just a really cool experience, and I wish that Brad could have been there because he hasn't been to an ultrasound since we did the gender like confirmation ultrasound. So they change a lot. They get big quickly, especially now. Now they just put on weight, so that's good. Like every week they're in there, they're putting on more weight, which is great. Names. Totally up in the air at this point. We had no names, 0. That's also changed a little bit, kind of. We hadn't even had a discussion at this point at weeks 18 to 20, had not even had the discussion of names. Now we had an on-camera discussion about names that we filmed, and it's on this channel, and I will link it in the iCard here. How have I been doing this for 4 years and I still don't know? So we did a names video. I'll just say we may have chosen a few names from that video that are pretty certain. So if you want to watch that, you haven't seen it yet, now that you know that we might be using a couple of those names, go back and rewatch it and see if you can guess. And that wraps up weeks 18 to 20 for my twin pregnancy update. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to those in future videos. The next update will be weeks 20 to 22. And then I will do kind of for weeks 22 to 24 my Q&A video that I asked for questions on Instagram for. That is, okay, so I say if you have a question, leave it in the comments below, but really, like we do a lot of question prompts on Instagram where you can just like type in your question and then they're all in one spot for us, where we don't have to like read through a bunch. Like we can just have them all right there. So it makes that a lot easier. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will wait and do the bump update until that last video because right now it's irrelevant, but I guess I could insert a picture right here of what my bump looked like at 18 to 20 weeks, and you can kind of get an idea. That's when I really started getting big. Oh my gosh, I'm a lot bigger now. Gonna be interesting. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button. It just supports our channel, and we'll see you next time.